Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. We are here tonight to sort of debate what's going wrong with Walsall at the minute. We have a couple of super fans with us. Where are they? Here they go. Let's get you on the middle of the screen. That's where you should be. That's it. Got Darren and Lee. Hi guys, thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while. And last time we spoke, I thought things were our initial impetus had dropped a little bit, but we weren't over worried, were we?
No.
Are we worried now?
Yes and no. Well, I would say sort of the 10 league games. I won't mention the sort of cup games, but if we just go off the 10 league games, we've sort of only had sort of 9 points from the 10 games. So that's not even 1 point a game. And if you look over the 10 games, I think we've scored 10 goals and conceded 10 goals. Well, if you consider the first game against Hartlepool, we scored 4 goals. And then against Newport, we got an own goal, but obviously that counted towards us. In the other 8 games, we've only scored 5 goals. So that sort of tells a bit of a tale that we're not scoring enough, and then we're not keeping enough clean sheets, because in that first 10 league games, I think we've only kept 3 clean sheets. So we're not keeping it tight, and we're not doing enough in the attacking third either. So I think Flynn's pretty much summed it up, where we're not doing enough in both boxes. And I think that's sort of the problem at the moment.
We'd be lost without Danny Johnson, wouldn't we? What do you think, Daz?
You can't argue with it, can you? It's he's the one outlet, the one that he is the fox in the box, and I don't think he's. We may well have on the opening day hat-trick might get a bit carried away. I think he's quite an hat-trick every other game, but without his goals, we'd be really struggling.
If we were relying on Timmy, we'd be struggling, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I just sort of the first 10 league games, I'm trying to compare it to last season, and the results aren't any better. But I feel, and I might be wrong, and I might be in a bit of a minority here, but I feel the performances are better. I think in the sense that we are sort of getting chances, but we're not scoring. And then if you have a look at some of the games, especially like Tranmere, sort of with a few minutes to go, we concede a goal and we end up losing. So
it's that composure, isn't it?
Yeah. I personally feel that so far the performances are better than last season, but the results aren't. So does it really matter? I mean, some fans will probably disagree. Some fans will agree. But I think if you're sort of thinking that this is more of a long-term project, then do we have to put up with it? Because I think also, and I've mentioned it before, if you sort of compare where Bristol Rovers were this time last season, they've had very similar results. And they had the one game that sort of turned their season. I mean, Bristol Rovers fans will probably say there was a couple of games that turned their season. But I think the main game that turned their season last season was when we went down to Bristol Rovers. They went down to 10 men and they beat us 1-0.
I know, that was embarrassing, wasn't it?
And then I think after that, they only lost maybe 1-2 games, and they virtually won or drew every other game. And that saw them go from sort of mid-table into that third place and got promoted. Now, I'm not saying we're anywhere close to that. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is I think Flynn deserves a bit more time to see what he can actually do, because I believe he's working as hard as he can, and I believe the players are working as hard as they can. But I think the quality and, like you said, the composure isn't quite there. And then we've begun undone with the sucker punch of sort of conceding at the wrong time.
Yeah. Well, I've just got a couple of early comments that I'll let Daz respond to. Leighton is saying Michael Flynn has had enough chances, time to go. Sadler's Fan TV. Hey, what's this opposition? Michael Flynn has had to go. Sorry, he's got to go. Rob Edwards is free. Leighton again, find a non-Walsall fan who says Michael Flynn is good. Jamie Pitt, we literally have the worst luck in the league. at the moment. Anyone going to Stockport on Saturday? Daz, immediate thoughts to those comments?
I'm in the other camp. I have to say, Simon. For me, we need to keep our nerve to start with. We change manager, we change manager, we change manager, we change manager, and we're still in exactly the same place we were before we changed all those managers. And we need to. For me, I hope we hold our nerve. I hope that we're at a time of the season where there's a bit of breathing space. Nobody expected us to. I don't think anybody realistically expects us to be top 2 at the end of the season. Being challenging would have been good, and I think we still can challenge. As Lee mentioned, the Bristol Rovers were miles off, and Port Vale were hardly in it to start with. Just need to. For me, we've been in every game. One of the key things there hasn't been a single game that we haven't been competitive in. We spoke before the Bradford game. The last time we spoke, you get a penalty in the opening minute, and it's a different game if that goes in. Played really well at Leyton Orient for 45, 50 minutes. Leyton Orient were looking around. You were there, Lee, weren't you? And there were points in the back end of the first half where Leyton Orient were looking around, and this isn't in the script. This isn't in the plan. We can hardly get a kick here. And for me, we've been competitive with everybody, and Leyton Orient's are really good for what it's worth. And we went toe to toe with them until they scored, and then the wheels came off.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, and I think when teams have a run of bad results, quite often the manager changes, and I think sometimes they change the manager not because they think the current manager isn't any good. They just think the current manager is not being able to stop the slide, and the change is as good as a rest kind of thing. Personally, I wouldn't get rid of Mike Flynn. He's got to be hurting and got to be struggling. But I checked out some stats, and you know me, I'm not sort of number one stat-o man, so this is sort of a bit special for me. Who do you reckon for Walsall as a manager has got the best win statistics during their time with Walsall? Matty Taylor. Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Matty Taylor, Mike Flynn, Darryl Clark, Dean Keats, Dean Smith, John Whitney, or Richard Money?
I would say off the top of my head, off that list, because I know Flynn's been in charge of us for 30 games, and I think he's lost 14 of them. So, and I think he's drawn about 6 or 7. So I would, out of that list, probably say Richard Money.
Richard Money. Who are you going for?
Truthfully, before you even read the list out, Richard Money was the name that came to my head.
Well, you're correct. Who was next?
That's
a tougher one.
I would say
just Richard Money, by the way, won 44 games out of 103, 43%. Who do you reckon?
Shout the list out again.
Matty Taylor, Darryl Clark, Dean Smith, John Whitney, Dean Keats, Mike Flynn.
Okay, I'll gamble on Whitney.
Lee?
No, because Whitney had loads of draws, didn't he? Darryl Clark.
Darryl Clark. John Whitney.
Oh.
He got lots of stick, John Whitney, but his win percentage was 34%, as you say, draws, 27% draws. Nobody refers to Whitney as being one of the better Walsall managers.
That's because he wasn't.
But results say otherwise, perhaps, don't they? Coming more specifically and more locally, or more recently, Mike Flynn's 30 games has a better win percentage than Matt Taylor had. And not quite as good as Darryl Clark. The thing is, with managers, we all know managers can have rough times and that sort of stuff. You've got to stick with them and give them time to get it right. There's too much chopping and changing. There's just too much chopping and changing. But the thing is, when a team's on a losing run, that's when it's really difficult. Because they've got to, what can they do to pull themselves out of that? And that's
obviously last 11 games.
Say again, Lee.
Obviously, sorry. I think the biggest glaring sort of stat at the moment is sort of the last 11 games we haven't had a win.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when you're going to get a win, and that's where the sort of pressure starts to build. But like Dad said, I don't think we're a million miles away. And again, I don't think we've been outplayed. And even if you include the cup games, I don't think we've been outplayed. I think we gave Charlton a game, and I
think in some respects
we've done well up to the point. But obviously, you can understand why some fans do want to have a change, because obviously, how much longer do you give sort of Flynn? But I would give him virtually to the end of the season, because I think you need to give him that run, because hopefully, with a couple of the players coming back from injury, I think sort of Liam Gordon in the last couple of games coming on has shown there's going to be a little bit more quality coming into the squad, which will help.
Yeah. I think
I know all things get injuries for the season, and you can't just say waiting for players to come back. But I think Flynn's been a bit unlucky with some of the injuries. So I like to see when he's virtually got a full squad or near enough a full squad to pick from, what he can do. And I think then you'll start seeing more results and better performances.
Yeah, I think we are quite close. I think Flynn's not using the bench that well, is he? I think he could do better with that. But as you say, when you're short of players and you are sort of into the thin edge of the squad, you are limited for your options, aren't you? He said he wanted a bigger squad, but he's got the same squad sort of Matt Taylor had pretty much, which is you got about 14 first teamers, and then the rest are all sort of fillers.
I think he's also he's yet to find his best team, his best formation. Certainly yet to find his best midfield. We talk about we don't score enough goals and we give goals away. That he certainly hasn't found his best midfield yet.
No. And should he have by now?
Possibly. I think there's some really tough decisions in there that wouldn't naturally be the first thing you do or the second thing you do. I think at some stage that there's some really difficult decisions in midfield that need to be made. There's some easy ones as well, because Earing needs to be in there, but there's some difficult ones as well.
You're referring to our player of the season 2 years running, even though he's got no assists or goals. Talk to that guy.
There is some difficult decisions. I don't, Liam does a job for you, but does he do enough of a job for you? He's sacrificing the things that he doesn't do. Does that overcome the things that he does give you? And I'm not saying you need to chop Kinsella, or you need to chop Comley, or whoever, but you need to find a way of making the midfield more productive in both sides of the pitch. We can say they're not creating enough, but at the same time, the goal we conceded Saturday, that let's be honest, Commonly and Kinsella played a key role in losing men. The goalkeeper needed to do better as well.
Yeah.
But dropping or dropping, Comley is one of his marquee signings. Really, one of the key players. He's obviously keen to develop, and Kinsella, player of the season 2 years on the run, got the club kind of right in the middle of his heart. Those are tough decisions, really tough decisions, but managers live and die by difficult decisions sometimes.
Yeah, I looked at the goal over and over again. Comley, he'd only just come on, and he was like in a different world. and completely left Morris to just to do what he wanted to do. Yeah, perhaps the keeper could have done better, but I mean, he saved the initial shot. Donovan Daniels, if he'd have gone to him, he'd have just played it into the striker unmarked on the penalty spot. So he was sort of rocking a hard place. So, but I think we've been saying it on the channel, and I think you guys are saying exactly the same things. That tough decision. He can't play Kinsella and Comley. He's got to get more attack-minded players on the pitch. And there's a lot of midfielders there. But here's a bit of a curved question, if you like. How many of our midfielders are better than Brendan Kiernan and Ready Young Sam?
I wouldn't argue with you. I tweeted this week similar.
Sam Perry.
I don't think that Perry's far beyond a number of the players that we bought in.
He's way ahead of Comley in my mind.
And he wanted to bring his own players in. Perhaps he saw something that he didn't like.
Hang on, we got Lee in twat. We got two Lees here. What's going on? Hang on. I've got Leon twice. One of them.
But perhaps he saw something in Perry in terms of attitude or desire or training that we don't see. But as a midfielder, you know, I think he's the equal of one or two players we've signed, to be honest.
Yeah, and Brendan Kiernan. Why? He would.
I think
improve us, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think he would, but obviously at the start of the season, I think Flynn had the idea of playing 3-5-2. So he probably thought then Keenan wasn't going to fit into that system, but he's gone more of a 4-3-3 or a 4 sort of 2-3-1. Then Brendan Keenan would have been ideal for that. But obviously he's changed his mind sort of because he's had a few poor results, or whether he doesn't trust the sort of three at the back now. Because that sort of seems a little bit strange, because how he sort of set his stall out to have like the 3 centre backs, and now in the last few games he's gone to just the 2 of them. It's like, is he trying to get more attacking options on the field, or is he sort of caught between the 2 systems now?
Yeah, I think stability is one, isn't he?
Yeah, with Kiernan, you shouldn't lose sight of what Flynn said at the forum back in August when he came in the summer and said, if I can't play or can't start, can I have an opportunity somewhere? So Keenan may well have made his mind up for him. So I kind of sympathise with the Keenan one a bit, even though I completely agree with he's got a bit more composure than a few.
Yeah, he also said he's a winger and I don't play wingers.
He did.
And then buys Maddox and Tom Knowles. So, maybe it was just one of them that it just wasn't working out sort of personally with them, perhaps. Difficult one. John Sadler is saying, I would stick with Flynn, but it can't go on forever. That's the what we're sort of touching on, really. Fed up of coming home from games feeling depressed. Yeah, I was really down after Saturday, to be honest. It's hard to take. I think winning those first 3 games has spoilt us, didn't it? We thought the joy had fully returned and we were going to win the league. And then slowly we get brought down to earth and realise that Hartlepool were going to be the whipping boys of the season. And it's that confidence. How do you get the morale and confidence back into a team to start winning?
It's foundation stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's foundation stuff for me. It's clean sheets. Lee mentioned it earlier. Clean sheets is the basis to start any kind of run and win some games. And you keep a clean sheet. You give yourself a chance to win.
And the thing is, Peter Clark, he doesn't seem to be screaming. Like, you expect a player like that to be screaming to get everybody in position, and that it doesn't seem to be the voice box that I expected, surprisingly. You're on mute, Lee. Let's switch you off mute. No. Hang on. I thought we got you then. Come on, Lee.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. That's it. Come on. We're ready.
Do you think Flynn and Hatwell needs a bit more help in like form of another coach? Maybe because obviously with Flynn, Hatwell, and Sadler, they're all mainly defensive midfield-minded sort of people from their sort of past. Don't you think maybe a striking coach or somebody that comes in with a bit more attacking experience might be helpful?
I think Timmy Abraham needs a attacking coach, a striking coach, because he's got a lot of the attributes apart from the key three that any striker needs. So I think he would benefit from some experienced striker. But saying that, Danny Johnson, he's one of them, albeit lone player. I think
they just need, obviously at the moment, confidence is down. I was interested to hear what Donovan Daniels said after the Tranmere game, where he said sort of, as players, they've got to sort of look at themselves a little bit more. And he sort of was saying like Flynn and Hatswell was sort of gave them all the tools and sort of everything they needed to go out and perform. But for whatever reason, they haven't quite done it. And I think it comes to them key moments. I think sort of looking over the games, again, before Tranmere scored, we had the chance to get ahead. We didn't take it. Going back to the Cheltenham game, I know it was in the Papa John's trophy, but before Cheltenham scored, we should have had a penalty, didn't get it. Go to the Bradford game and so on. You go through all the games. I think the only game where we haven't really started off that well was Barrow, and that was down to our own self. Sort of two set plays, the players were asleep and they scored 2 goals. But then in the second half, the way they came out and performed, we could have easily got a draw there or might even need to win. But I think it's just been those key moments in the games where we haven't come out on top. And I think that's what they're suffering from. And obviously the confidence and the morale's taken a knock now.
I think as you kicked off with, Lee, at the start, the performances aren't bad. We're not playing consistently for the whole game. And we were calling for a 95-minute performance, which on Saturday we did get. It just happened in the 96th minute that we conceded. But people was like on my my match reaction, I was saying I thought it was I thought it was a decent performance, and I've got some criticism on that. But I think if Maddox had put that chance in and we'd have won 1-0, everybody would have said great performance, great win. And the fact that he didn't, and then we conceded a late goal, people forget that throughout that game, Walsall were better. I'm not saying we were great, and perhaps I'm getting used to seeing poor performances, but I didn't think it was that bad. I thought the midfield was better set up, still not incisive enough, granted, and we would like better, but I don't think it was that bad. Am I just foggy and I don't see it? Tell me if I am.
No, I think Daz has already said it. In all the games we've played, we haven't been overrun by anybody. It's not like you've seen somebody and you've gone, wow, they've really took us apart, like against Leyton Orient. And let's not forget it. Before we played Leyton Orient we've like sort of averaging 2-3 goals a game, haven't they been? And sort of look quite easy. And I'm not going to say we made them look ordinary because that'll be over the top. But I think they came up against us, and it was one of the hardest games they've had so far this season. And again, key moments in that game where we haven't really been strong enough, or we've taken half a chance, and then we get the sucker blow, and sort of that's to me that's what the tale of this season's been so far. And let's not forget, it is 10 games, but obviously to only have 9 points after 10 games is disappointing.
Yeah. I think if you think back to last season, Swindon really smacked us 2 or 3 times. Forest Green early last season absolutely ripped us apart. Well, as you say, nobody's done that this season. I don't think we're that far away. I think Martin Beeston's comment, stick with Flynn, he will turn it. And I think that is true. But equally, he needs to start turning, doesn't he?
I think we paid some really heavy prices for whether it be switching off or a bit of bad luck or every kind of thing that goes against us seems to be really expensive at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, the mistake on Saturday, one error against Leyton Orient. We went to sleep for one pass, which was a bit like Saturday for what it's worth. There were similarities there. Bradford, you miss a penalty. You go all the way back to Stevenage, you know, and you see out the last cross, and you're top of the league with 3 wins from 3.
Yeah.
Everything. The Charlton, the Andy Williams goal against Charlton, the penalty last week, which was a disgrace. You know it's the Papa Johns, and I don't get too carried away, to be perfectly honest with the Papa Johns, but not giving that penalty was a disgrace, and it changes.
Which one of the three? Which one of the three? You want about?
First one, the first one, but
the first one.
Point.
I've shown that a few people, and they've going like, "Yeah, that's obviously a penalty. What you showed me for?" And I'm saying he didn't give it, and like the referee was right there, and he still didn't give it. I think for me, the worst one, which was perhaps me and Lee saw it very clearly. Their player handled it with 2 hands, didn't he?
Yeah. Basketball.
Were you there too? Were you at that Cheltenham game? I didn't see you, Daz.
No, I wasn't there. For that one? Wasn't there.
Not that I'm blaming you. You go far more than I do.
I have got a really good excuse, but that's for another day.
No. I'm not criticising. I was just asking. That was all. Yeah. I'm in no position to criticise for away support. I don't get to anywhere near enough, really.
Can I just make a point about the Tranmere game? I do feel Flynn could have been a little bit more positive with his subs on Saturday, because I felt that Liam Bennett was getting a bit tired, especially in the last 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
And he got Hayden White on the bench. And I was thinking, could he have brought him on instead of Liam Bennett and kept that sort of tempo going up down the right-hand side?
Yeah.
I just think that sometimes Flynn, I would have thought with the 5 subs, that would have been a benefit to us this season. But at the moment, I can't really remember when we've made a substitution and it's changed the game. But when the opposition have made a substitution, it's changed the game for them.
Yeah, but I think some of that, though, Lee, I think his depth of squad. But I think he's definitely, tactically, he's being outthought, isn't he? Flynn. I just thought, especially Saturday, I mean, Liam Bennett sort of first half was like running down that right channel and right wing as much as he could. And you could see he was physically getting tireder and tireder. And you got Hayden White on the bench. Surely he could have gone, right, time to change it. Yeah. And again, bringing Comley on was a very strange choice.
Especially when you still got Hutchinson on the bench and that, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to go, because I understand it if he's thinking, right, we're not going to get nothing from it, and I'd rather get the draw than lose it. But also, if he'd gone like with Hutchinson instead of Comley, who knows? I mean, got to trust Flynn, but I think there is a few little question marks on some of his subs at certain times.
Yeah. Well, Hayden White would have been best of both worlds, wouldn't he? Because he can get forward and he's helps defensively as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought, especially Saturday. I just thought if he's on the bench and you got the 5 subs, use him.
Yeah. Obviously, Ram's been on international duty. What do you think of him so far? Quite a fire, I think. What do you reckon?
He was the one substitute against Swindon that changed the game. When he
that's funny you say that. I've just had a comment. Yeah.
That he certainly changed the game against Swindon, and I think he's been very, very, very good. I kind of him not being around on Saturday was an option that Flynn obviously couldn't use because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I for his age, his experience, I've been really impressed. Really impressed.
But I think you've said this. Sorry, Simon. I think you said this before, Daz. If you're in that squad and you're looking at and you're the rest of the midfield players, and you're looking at Ram, who's 17 and virtually had like a handful of games, and he's sort of getting ahead of you, wouldn't you sort of be going back at home and thinking to yourself, what am I doing?
I need to pick up, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, fair play. I love Ram and I love John, and I think he's great, and I think he's going to have a great future. But I also think there's some players we've got in that squad who should be looking at themselves and going, he's good, but is he really that much better than me at 17? And they should be really looking at themselves long and hard and thinking, if he's better than me and he's getting ahead of me, maybe I'm in the wrong profession.
I think it's one of those glass half full, half empty things. Should we be really happy that we've got a 17-year-old that's ready for a first team?
Definitely.
Or should we be dejected the fact that a 17-year-old is looking the most impressive in our midfield?
A bit of both, I think, to be honest with you, Simon. Especially if I was one of the other midfield players. I'll be thinking, especially like somebody who's like 22, 23, you can say they're still fairly young in their career, but they've got, some of them have got 4 or 5 years more experience than Ram, and Ram's outshining them. Yeah. So that just shows you how good Ram is. I mean, he's going to be a tremendous player in the future.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
I would also, if I was sitting in that dressing room, I'd be thinking, I've got to pull my socks up here.
Well,
we must look after him.
Yeah.
No, not expect too much of him. Not every time he comes on, think he's going to score. Give him some patience. Give him some space to grow. Because if we don't sell him in January, or we don't sell him in the summer, this time next year, when he's got 50 games behind him or 40 games behind him, think of the impact he's going to have then.
Yeah.
And we need to protect him.
And that's what we're sort of touching on with the Flynn thing. It is a project. As much as we're concerned about the losing run, which clearly needs to end very, very quickly, promotion this season was not the expectation, despite our 3 wins at the start of the season. And it's worth keeping with Flynn, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, Simon, on that. So do you think that it's like a 2 to 3 year project? And I'm not saying Flynn gets the total time of that, because obviously if the results sort of tank and everything, and he's under pressure. But do you think sometimes we get a little bit overexcited and think that we should be getting the results straight away? Or do you know what I mean? Do you think we have got the time and the patience? I suppose it's more, have the new owners got that time and patience? Because obviously they want to have a club that's doing well and progressing. So does that mean sort of this season, I'm not saying write it off, because I don't think we can write it off, but give Flynn that time to see what he can actually do. And if once he gets to sort of the 25 game, 30 game mark, we're still sort of down in 15, 16, then maybe they can think this isn't going to work out. But obviously, give him the time.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Gaz?
I think the two things go together in terms of sticking by the manager and whether it's a 2 or 3 year plan. Sack this manager, we bring another one in, we go back to year 0, and then it becomes another 2 year plan or another 3 year plan. I think we need to be competing this year. I think the board has given him enough rope for us to be competitive. I think next year's the one we should really be focusing on, in terms of if we don't do anything this year, then we have to be competitive next year. And for me, we must get out this division as soon as possible, because the longer you're in this division, the more likely it is you have a bad 6 months, and we're 2 months into a bad 6 months, and the situation's irrecoverable, and we end up in the National League. We have to get out this division quickly, whether it be this year, next year, year after. The sooner the better. But we need some patience.
Yeah, I think, as you say, just keep changing manager all the time. It's not a simple fix. You change the manager, you might have a short-term boost, but it's building the long-term stability of the club, and you don't get that by moving people on. I think the Matt Taylor project could have worked, but I mean, he was perhaps too inexperienced, wasn't he? where Flynn has more experience behind him, albeit he's not that experienced a manager, even though 250 games for Newport. But we're just stepping back to my heavy stats. 41% win rate for Newport over 250 games, which would put him above all of our managers, with the exception of Richard Money and Darryl Clark's current performance at Port Vale. So don't be mistaken thinking the Mike Flynn is a poor manager. He's not a poor manager. He's having a rough spell in a new club that he's trying to put together a team capable of promotion over 2 years. And to judge him after 10 games of that, when he's got 6 players out injured, is, as you say, as we've said all through this today, that's too short term. And like Watford, keep sacking the managers and that sort of stuff. It's not going to get them anywhere. It's not going to get them anywhere.
Just a quick one on that, Simon. Again, I mean, we're not exactly lighting the league at the moment, but I think we've sold near enough 700 tickets to go to Stockport on Saturday. So the fans are still...
What kind of support would we get if we were winning every week?
Well, that's what I mean. We probably, by the time we go to Stockport on Saturday, there'll probably be 800 plus fans there again. And if you think we haven't really had that good as a start of the season, that's still some following that is, mate. I mean, that's fair play to everybody going to Stockport and sticking with them. And I think that sort of shows, again, not for everybody, it's probably getting more and more divided as the weeks go by, but I think a lot of people do want to see, I want to see Flynn succeed and do well, because I like Flynn as a bloke as well. I think he's quite straightforward when he comes out and he talks to the media and he sort of says what he believes, and I don't think there's any sort of sugarcoating it and everything. And I think he's sort of the sort of manager and the type of bloke that we've needed for the last couple of seasons. And I think if we give him that bit of time and he can turn it around, which I think he can, I think we can really go and get on a charge. I think it'd be like he just needs that one win or a couple of wins and boost to the whole entire squad, and we'll be off and running.
The thing, I think, Cole's made a point here, which sort of the previous one there, you can't build a promotion team from scratch with one transfer window. I think it's a fair point.
Not sure about the first bit of it, though.
Darren talks sense.
Yeah, not sure about that.
I was trying to delete that bit, but I couldn't get rid of it.
No, if it's Darren talks rubbish, you'd be closer.
How long can we go in this downward spiral? That's the problem, isn't it? And it's how to get that kick. And what Lee mentioned earlier with like a striker coach and that sort of stuff, sometimes just to brighten things up, getting somebody new in that sort of just give a different perspective on things, perhaps that might work, because we're getting plenty of shots, we're just not scoring, aren't we?
Yeah, I just on the how long can we go on? It's the right part of the season to be on this kind of run. I guess right, you don't want to be in the bottom 6 and on this run in April. So there's times and places. The other thing, we touched on it previously in terms of Wilkinson and Labadie, and particularly Wilkinson. I think we saw pictures of him running last week and training. We need to, again, we kind of need him back as soon as possible, but we need him back at a time frame that works, not that immediately gets him injured again. And I guess that's what, on a losing run like this, one of the risks is that we rush him back and then we lose him again, and we can't afford to do that.
I think a win, Stockport, Wimbledon or Northampton, 3 points out of any of them would take a lot of pressure off everybody and get some smiles around the camp. I'd rather have 1 win and 2 defeats than 3 draws. It's just it's that on the back, isn't it? You need... I'd
rather have 3 wins, Simon.
Oh, you'd rather have 3 wins? Okay, sorry, we'll do that then.
Again, sorry, Daz. Again, we haven't got to fear anybody. I mean, Northampton have been on a good run, but them turning up Tuesday night, if they think they're going to turn up and just have an easy win and 3 points, they're going to have a bit of a shock. Because, again, we've said it already, there's nobody at the moment that has come and basically absolutely turned us over and made us look silly. So
No.
I think there's a lot of teams that have probably be getting to a bit of a false sense of security and thinking, Walsall, easy win. That's not what, especially with Flynn in charge, that's not happened. And I haven't seen it happen in any of the games we've played, even towards the end of last season. I don't think Flynn will. He's the type of bloke that'll just roll over and give up, basically. And I think that's where the players need to show a little bit more and have that just a little bit of steel. I don't think, again, we're not a million miles away. It's just those little percentages here and there that will make the difference.
Yeah. Got a Port Vale fan jumping in there. When they got rid of Askey, his first choice was Flynn. See, he's got a lot of respect. He's got a lot of respect around there. And, of course, we know how well Smith did. 16 games without a win. It's a case of sticking with him and building the project and developing the project. But obviously a couple of wins had certainly helped calm the nervous few. Sorry, Darren, you were about to say something then.
Yeah, just we got Stockport Saturday, and then before the FA Cup, which isn't that far away now, then out of the next 6 games, 4 are at home. And there's, I think it's an important period for us as well. Not just in terms of we need a win, but we need a couple of 3. To be honest with you, to capitalise on the opportunity that's coming.
But where are the goals going to come from midfield? Because DJ's scoring plenty. Andy Williams doesn't seem to want to score anymore.
I mean, on Saturday, Simon, I bought my mate to the game for a £5, and he normally goes down. He normally goes down the Blues, Tim, and he sat there, and I said to him, like, "What do you think?" And he said, "You've got a bit of a similar problem we had at the Blues last season, where we looked good, but we couldn't score goals." And he said, "I like the look of quite a lot of your players." And he said, "You look good." He said, "It's just that final bit of quality for the final ball or the final bit of composure where they're taking shots and everything." And then he said to me, and it was a little bit off the cuff, but I think it's sort of a bit true. He said, "If you could," he said, "probably a Djukovic type would be ideal for you at the moment." Yeah. He said, because he said he liked the look of that Johnson. He said he looks a good player. I said he's a good player. I said he just needs the partner. I said Andy Williams is trying hard. You can see he's trying hard, but Andy Williams isn't an out-and-out target man. I said if you had somebody like Djukovic alongside him, I said you probably see Johnson score even more goals.
Yeah, the thing is we're still looking out for that target man, aren't we? And Andy Williams said when he arrived, "I'm not a target man. That's not my position." And same Wilkinson, they signed him saying he was the target man, and then he came out and said, "I'm not a target man. I'm a winger." So where's that target man? We still haven't got him, have we?
No, and I don't think it's through lack of trying. I think it was just the fact that at the time we couldn't really afford anybody to come in and fill that role. So then obviously Flynn's had to go to sort of plan B, plan C, and it's not quite working at the moment. But the signs there, isn't it? I mean, like Tom Knowles, and you would hope Hutchinson, and then when Ram comes back in, you think there's enough there in the attacking third to sort of help and supply Williams and Johnson. It's just,
and that's it.
Sort of
You've got 3. As we said with Ram, we don't want to sort of overuse him, but with the 5 subs, you can either start him or bring him on, give him sort of 30 minutes or 60 minutes, and you could have done the same with Perry as well, couldn't you? If Perry was still with us, but it's difficult. Obviously, we just need a win, don't we? Turn it round and start it heading in the right direction again.
We will. Saturday will be the first win.
Saturday. I was all planning to get to Stockport. Every time I plan an away game, the missus comes up with something and saying, "You do know you need to do this the weekend." And it's like, "Oh, not again." And we've got something else come up now on Saturday morning. So I'm just wondering if we can get it out the way and get there, or whether I'll be on the iFollow. I might put a live stream watch along or something. And now she's put something in for the Mansfield away match. Now, I love the Mansfield away. And that's someone else I can't do either. So there'll be more live stream watch-alongs, I think. But I mean,
So
I
what?
want to get
So
there.
what you're basically saying, Simon, is you're going to miss the 2 away wins that we have.
Well, that set up the barnstorming run during the second half of the season. I think to sort of wind it down for today, I think we know we need to turn soon. If there is going to be a change, it could very well be if Flynn resigned. There was a bit of a rumour that he'd offered his resignation and it was declined. So he's sort of teetering himself, I think. So I think the players, as you said, the players need to give him a win to sort of get things straight. But then if we're getting towards Christmas, then if we're getting towards Christmas and we're still in the same kind of position down here, then perhaps that would be a good time to change just before a transfer window. But it's difficult. I don't want to give up on Flynn.
Don't think we're going to get there. I think something will happen sooner or later. A couple of wins, and we were on the back of 7 straight defeats last February, and we turned 6 points out of Tranmere and Forest Green. It'll turn.
Yeah, it'll come good.
It'll turn.
Ian Allen thinks I'm under the thumb. Graham says we want players who can play for a full 90 minutes. Well, those that can't need to get subbed off and get the others on. We're going to make better use of the subs.
Sorry, I don't think it's a 90-minute game for footballers anymore with 5 substitutes. I think there's clearly some have to play 90 minutes, but there's other areas that you need to refresh. Going back to Lee's point about, or Simon's point about not using substitutes particularly well, I think there's something in that.
Yeah, and the thing is that is a change. But I mean, we can work it out. Why can't they?
Again, we don't see them day to day in training, so you don't know sort of one or two of them on the bench might be carrying a knock, and he might be thinking, if it's not worth the gamble, I won't put them on, because again, we seem to have quite a bit of an injury list, and again, I think sort of you look at some of the players on the bench and you think surely they'll come on with 15, 20 minutes to go, but he hasn't done it, so is there 1 or 2 more that are carrying knocks and we don't really know about it, or is it just?
Or is he just nervous? I think. Yeah, I think perhaps against Stevenage, when we were under the cosh against Stevenage, while it was still 0-0, it was like, if I change this and we concede a goal, they're going to call me an idiot. And then
I'll just think how it seems. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think teams against us have made the changes and it's sort of benefited them. I think sort of Tranmere did that, didn't they? Sort of Saturday when they brought Morris on, and it was sort of Morris had a big hand in the goal sort of thing, and I think that's happened 1 or 2 times more for the opposition this season so far than it is for us. But Saturday we're going to win, so
we're going to win Saturday. Oh, that's good. Well, Stockport ain't been doing too well. If we get a win at Stockport, surprise Northampton, and then Wimbledon are on a worse run than us, I think, aren't they?
I think I'm going to go for a 3-1 on Saturday, Simon.
A 3-1 on Saturday?
Yeah.
Ah. All right. We've just had a comment here from Carl. Could do with Don Goodman Mark II. I said to you, didn't I, earlier in the week, I think, I would love Don Goodman down at Walsall talking to the strikers, and particularly Timmy Abraham, because his awareness is his perhaps biggest problem. So maybe, can that be taught? What do you think, Daz?
Timmy's got a long way to go. He doesn't look that far off Elijah in Elijah's first 3 months at Walsall, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know. The jury's out. But you got a bit to learn, but so have others as well. I don't want to just point at one player. There's a few.
No. I think we could talk about Douglas James Taylor. His miss against Cheltenham. That he peeled away from the defender perfectly. He was in the perfect position, I remember way back. Do you remember Michael Ricketts?
Yeah,
I do.
He was in position every single time and fluffed it every single time. And we said if he starts hitting the target with these, he'll be gone. And then he was, and obviously had a very good time with Bolton. And maybe that's it with some of them as well. It's getting in the right place. This is a curve one. When will Sivek play in goal?
when he's fit for starters.
Pardon?
He's got to get fit first, hasn't he? Like, he's carrying
He's injured, is he?
I believe he's got is it a groin injury or something like that?
I don't know. He's managed to get a groin injury sitting on the bench, but obviously not playing with a keeper on the bench. That's a risk. How many subs do you need to include a keeper? Hey? How many more subs do we need to be able to include a keeper? We've got reserve keeper. Surely you should put him on the bench.
Yep, wouldn't argue. Yeah.
No. It would be great to see a Walsall promotion as it would be another derby day for the Vale. That's our Vale fan that's on. So that's there's nothing we'd like more than to get back into League One. And my biggest disappointment was this Willock thing. Now, at the manager's forum, he said he sent him out to do his pre-season training and come back fit. He didn't come back fit enough. Shay Willock, he was a glorious talent. What's gone wrong there?
Again, we don't know all the ins and outs, do we? Simon never will, but maybe it's more to do with his sort of attitude, or maybe he thinks he should be in the first team or around the first team and he's not working hard enough.
When the times I've spoken to him, he's been so, I suppose, quite placid, really. He's not like an arrogant guy. He's very level-headed and composed. Just that kind of coolness that you want in front of goal. I don't know. He's gone to Warwick Warriors or something, hasn't he? On loan. So we'll have to see. If he starts banging the goals in there, maybe he'll come back and get a run in the first team.
Maybe in one way it'll do him some good because he's gone from Walsall to there, and then he might think, hang on, if I don't work hard enough and pull my socks up, I'm not going to get that much of a career, and I will end up being somewhere like this and being more part-time than full-time.
Yeah.
Walsall... Go on, Simon, sorry.
Just got one more comment there. Willett looked poor and had poor attitude when I saw him against Rushall. Maybe he's just low on confidence as well, perhaps. Maybe that's what
I think I've just seen that message come up there, Simon, where it says, how patient will the Americans be with Flynn? I think they'll be quite patient with him, but I also think if the crowd starts dropping drastically, then they might do act, because obviously they are in it to make money. And if it looks like we're not going to be making money, i.e. the attendance starts to drop down and we are sort of lingering around 15th and 16th, they probably will have to make a change in their own minds, because obviously they want to sort of protect their investment, don't they?
Yeah. There is excitement around the club when a new manager comes in, but I mean, it's quite short-lived. I think before we finish off today, I think we've got a consistent message from the three of us. We've got to stick with Flynn. It's a project. It will turn very soon, we hope, and all will be good. Is that fair to say?
I would say yes, but obviously we can't go sort of the next 20 games and still be lingering around 17th, 18th, because obviously it gets a bit too close to that dreaded relegation zone. But I don't think we'll get anywhere close to that, because I think in these next 7 games, I believe we've got 7 games in October, I think we'll get enough wins and you'll see it'll start turning, and I'm not going to say we'll go storming up the table, but I think we can. I would say if we finish around about 10th at the end of the season, I'll be more than happy with that.
Yeah, well, I think top half. I think that's what Darren said. And I agree with him. I think top half this season is a good season, and obviously after the first 3 games, our expectations sort of went a bit crazy. But I mean, top half this season is still on. But I think if we dropped into the bottom 2 or bottom 3, it might be start of a new project, perhaps. But it would be sad to see Flynn go, because I'm sure he'll do well elsewhere if he leaves Walsall.
It's interesting the table's broken off already. You got
That
4
was-
points, 4 points between us and Tranmere.
Yeah.
And there's almost 2 divisions already within 1 division. I think there's some poor sides at the bottom. And to be honest, from what I've seen and what you look at, we shouldn't be in the bottom. We shouldn't be worrying about the bottom. We need to be looking up. We're better than we're better than a few down there. So, but just need to be patient, I think.
Yeah. Patience. That's common with football fans, isn't it? Patience.
Yeah, we're synonymous with it, aren't we?
Yeah. The thing is that you don't want to be whinging all the time when you can't win every game. The mantra of the channel is well known by us all: the joy and the pain. And every football fan goes through it. I think we experience more pain than most, but it's supporting a football club is not about going out and watching a team win every week. It's about looking at both and going through the turmoil when things aren't going well, and enjoying it all the more when things come good. So we're forever hopeful for the joy to return. And on that, we'll sign off. Okay, thanks for joining us.
No worries.
And let's hope the joy starts coming back in abundance. Just a little less pain, I think, could help. But okay, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for those that have joined in and made comments on the live stream. If you haven't already, subscribe and join the journey. Painful and joyous, but not in equal amounts. Cheers.